Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel, hope you're doing well. Today you join me in this very nice 2016 Mercedes GLC. You may remember this if you're an avid watcher of the channel. We bought this from Jonathan down in Devon. A very nice car. We got it for a good price. It's been on our forecourt for a little while. And I have actually used this myself. Took Sophie down to Plymouth, I think maybe, for a weekend away, and decided I'd drive this because I liked it so much. But I'm still going to give you my initial impressions on this car as if it were the first time I was driving it, because again, I won't get too technical, but I just want to give you my thoughts on it, what I think about it basically. So obviously the GLC, this is a 4MATIC, so a four-wheel drive. It's a 2.1 diesel and it is an automatic gearbox. It's pretty much the same sort of technology, as far as I'm aware, that Mercedes have been using for quite a while. So while it may not necessarily feel the most up-to-date, the snappiest of gearboxes and the sweetest sounding of engines, it is pretty damn reliable and dependable, and you're not really likely to get too many issues with that. And it's certainly not, you know, the most agricultural thing in the world when it comes to engine and gearbox. Obviously, being a Mercedes this generation, it's absolutely gorgeous inside. They've really made improvements by leaps and bounds when it comes to interiors. It's got a really nice sporty leather steering wheel with your flappy paddles as well. We've got black ash inlay for all of our interior trims. That I really like these kind of knurled buttons for all the heater controls. A, it's nice to have physical controls for your heaters, etc. But B, the fact that they're knurled make this feel like it's a vehicle of a Bentley level kind of engineering. Of course, we've got electrically adjusted seats. They are heated as well. We've got power fold mirrors. We've even got a twin panoramic sunroof, which is a very nice feature as well. The whole cab feels a really nice plush place to be. The center dials remind me very much of like an AMG GT or something. Not that I've ever been in one, or I even really know what they look like inside, but it just has that kind of sporty cockpit feel about it, which is nice on a 4x4 style SUV vehicle. It's not completely utilitarian, it's actually very kind of elegant in here, and it makes it a very nice place to be doing long journeys. It has adaptive cruise control, driving assist for parking, braking, thing, which I've got to say I'm not a massive fan of. You want to take a corner somewhere and it screams at you that you're about to crash into a car when you know that you're not. And on other occasions it's put the brakes on for me when I don't really want it to. It kind of takes you by surprise. In fact, the worst I've ever experienced that was an A-Class that we had, and I started to go up quite a steep motorway bridge and it just put the brakes on for me because it thought I was about to crash into a wall. I'm not a fan of that sort of stuff. I'm sure you can go into settings and adjust it down depending on how you want it, but I never really get that far. But it's not a feature I'm a massive fan of. When I first got in this car, I really liked the look of this control for the MMI, infotainment, trip computer, etc. It makes me think of like the controller for like the Starship Enterprise or something, but actually it's quite complicated and I found it tricky to use. I think it's even got a sort of mouse mat pad, so you can use that as if it were a laptop scroll pad, which is quite nice, and I'm sure once you've got used to it, it's great. But I did find it a little confusing trying to sort a few things out. Good news is you have still got the physical controls for doing your heating right there on the dashboard in front of you, so that does make life a lot easier in that regard, rather than having to try go through menu, sub-menu, whatever, just because you want to turn the fans off your face. Is not ideal or particularly safe in my opinion. Once you have got the hang of all the menus though, there is an absolute ton of features in here. Obviously you've got your Bluetooth CarPlay, you've got all your heating controls on there, we've got satellite navigation including travel updates, etc. And one of my favourite features on this is the 360 camera, which while we're sat here in traffic I can probably do. So out from the boot pops your rear camera as well, and it gives you this whole kind of bird's eye view of the car so that you know where you're maneuvering. and as you move, it actually updates it. So there's no one behind us, so we can go. It kind of saves the road ahead, so you can keep an eye on every side of the car, which is great for someone who wants a larger car or needs to carry all the family, things like that, but isn't the most confident of drivers. That is a very nice feature to have. Talking of needing space, you have got 5 huge seats. They've all got ISOFIX points, things like that. They're all incredibly comfortable as well. You would definitely seat 3 grown adults in the back there, no problem. Plus all your luggage, because the boot on this is absolutely huge. And of course, it is electronically controlled. You can either press the button on the boot, the key, or you can swipe your foot underneath. Say you're carrying a load of groceries, etc., and the boot will open. I remember when those sort of features started being shown, and it absolutely blew my mind. And this is probably the first car I've had that features that. I have to say, driving this in comparison to older MLs, such as we had on the channel recently, this is a much more comfortable, more refined drive. It's not bumpy at all. It's not stiff and kind of offensive. They've obviously got the suspension right. It drives really well. It'd be incredibly easy to do long journeys in this. But even pottering around through the lanes, bumpy roads and things like that, it seems to soak it up better than some of the bigger, like MLs, for example. I would very much like to try a Mercedes GLE, which is the bigger version of this. There is the GLA, the GLC, which we're in now, and the GLE. You can probably guess how that works, what the Mercedes models. An A-Class, B-Class, C-Class, E-Class, G-Class, as the letters go up, so the cars get bigger, etc. So we are somewhere in the middle of their SUV range, and I think it's quite a good size, really. We actually have someone inquiring on this who is wanting to part exchange their GLA, so it would be interesting to get into that and see how it compares, because although it feels like a reasonably large car, I don't see how you could get much smaller inside. You have got plenty of space to be comfortable in here, but it's not utilitarian space in a sense, I guess. Being the 2.1 diesel that you get in all of these cars throughout the range, from the A-Class to the E-Class, fuel economy is reasonable. It's okay, but I wouldn't say it's amazing. Looking at our trip computer, for the last 900 miles, it's averaged 33 miles per gallon, which isn't great, but it's also not bad for an SUV style car. But obviously you could get cars that would do a lot better than that, at least 40 to 50. I'm sure if this was driven conservatively, you could get 40 miles per gallon out of it, but it's not going to break any records for being the most economic thing in the world. If there was one thing that lets this car down, in my opinion, it is probably the styling. Although I think this has the potential to be a very attractive looking car, this particular model, not being an AMG line, it just lacks a bit of drama, really. It could do with a bit more something going on. I think that's maybe the reason why we still have it in stock 2 or 3 months after having bought it, because although it is very elegant and refined, I think for where this sits in the market, people want a bit more kind of theatre. They want big wheels, they want body styling. This is keeping up with the Joneses and surpassing them. Having a Mercedes SUV on the driveway rather than something Japanese, letting your neighbours know just how well you're doing, or at least how well you want them to think you're doing. And that would be far better achieved with some big alloy wheels and a styling kit, etc. So I think the fact that this is still quite classy and refined with its smaller wheels, giving it chunkier tyres and a much better ride on the road, is probably holding back its saleability a little bit. On the whole though, I think I'd give it a good 7.5, 8 out of 10. It's a lovely place to be in here. It's very easy to drive. You've got all the mod cons you could want, and the interior quality is very nice. I have to say though, having recently done a video on a similar era 2017 Volvo V90 cross country, that I think the interior materials were far superior in the Volvo. They had a much nicer soft feel plastic. It had a very similar looking ash inset trim. I think ironworks in here, if that's the right word, but switches, switchgear, etc. very nice in here, but interior plastics, etc. feel cheaper in here than they do in that Volvo. So there we have it. That is the 2016 Mercedes GLC. Absolutely lovely car, very nice to drive. Just perhaps slightly let down by the lackluster looks on it. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video and you enjoyed my initial impressions on this car. If you have, please do give it a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram and TikTok. And I'll see you next time.